Hey, thanks for checking out. We don't really have a name for this show. We do it sporadically. We're going to maybe do it a little more frequently now that the Dynamo season has officially kicked off and we are 1-0, baby. How about that? Nice 2-1 win at BBVA Compass Stadium against the defending champs of Seattle. And it was a really good game. I was impressed with the new players that we've added, including Albert, is it Ellis?
Albert Ellis.
Albert Ellis. I'm calling him Albert. I'm calling him Al.
Prince Al.
You can call me Al. That's right. And Kyoto.
Yep, Romel Kyoto.
They were both very impressive, good additions. It was good to see, what's his face there, good goal.
Oh, yeah, Cubo Torres.
Yeah. I didn't
Fine.
realize that was his first goal in a Dynamo uniform.
Well, he's played so sporadically since he came to Houston that he just never really had a chance to play. I mean, he came here and then he played terribly, and then we sent him on loan to, I don't even know, some Mexican league team. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but yeah, he never really had the opportunity here. And Owen Coyle couldn't utilize him anyway, so. So if you go back to one of our earlier videos, we did a preseason preview of the Dynamo this season, and I was happily surprised that we did get one thing right for sure, and that they did come out with a 4-3-3. It was as expected. I wasn't quite expecting Cubo to get the start over Mauro Manotas, who has had a successful history with Houston. I mean, Cubo's a little bit older, a little bit more established technically, so I guess that made sense. And it seems like his playing style fits with the just blinding fast pace of Kyoto and Ellis.
It seemed like Seattle was kind of playing a little dirty.
Yeah.
Is that what they're known for? I mean, because they were going after Torres like I didn't think he was going to make it off the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's
off the pitch, I'm sorry.
It's one of the tough things with MLS soccer, though, because overall the quality of play isn't as good as other leagues. I mean, honestly, it's not up there with the European leagues, things like that. So a lot of times you do see a much more physical style play. You see much more aggressive. You see more going after the man than the ball, things like that. So, I mean, it works. It wins championships. Houston won their 2 titles doing that.
They're confused. They're not understanding football. Really, they're thinking they just go out there and tackle them.
Yeah. They're doing American football.
Right.
Yeah. But they do. It's almost like the Houston Rockets took their method of the season and took the Mike D'Antoni method and put it onto the Dynamo, but with defense. We actually have that back line is very solid with Leonardo and Run DMB and AJ De La Garza, and I can never remember the other center back's name for the life of me, even though he's been there for like a year or two. But those 4 combined played very well. They held it together. They didn't let Jordan Morris and Clint Dempsey and the rest of Seattle get too much room.
Clint Dempsey looks old.
He's getting up there. I mean, he was coming off of a heart surgery type procedure.
Okay, all right. I'll let it slide then.
This was his first game, and I think he missed the last 3 months of last season or something like that.
It's also kind of hard to. I mean, he scored, and it's hard to not cheer for him because I'm used to watching, the men's national team. But I didn't cheer for him.
I am happy that Jordan Morris gets to learn from Clint Dempsey, because there's very few professionals that are better for a young, budding national team star to learn from than Clint. He's very professional. He's a great player. He knows how to play on the international level. So let Jordan Morris learn from him in his time in Seattle.
Now, what I'm excited about is that it seems like this is going to be the plan going forward throughout the season.
Yes.
And that is exciting to me because the game was exciting to watch, especially the first half. It seemed like they were, in the offensive end most of the time, which is weird because I read that their possession stats were very low, but it seemed like they were over there the whole time, like taking shots. And at one point, I think it was like 12 shots to 2. So, I mean, it was very exciting, which I hadn't seen from them last year.
I don't remember the last time I saw that from them. I mean, to be honest, the 2 years with Coyle were or a year and a half with Coyle were a bust. The half a year with Wade Barry, he didn't have any players that he could utilize. Right. It was a defensive-based team. And Dom's last season, I mean, Dom always played the conservative, defensive mindset that the rest of the league plays. So I mean, it's really been a very long time since we've seen a aggressive, attacking, push the ball up the field, speed on the wings type Dynamo team.
Stadium was still, I mean, there was tons of people outside, events going on, but it didn't translate to inside. It didn't seem to me. I don't know where these people were. One thing I did really like that they're doing this year is the announcer is doing the announcements in both English and Spanish. And whoever made that decision, right on, because we're in Houston, where there is a huge Hispanic market, and these people love soccer. So they should be coming to the games, and we should be, catering to get, more fans of the game in the stadium. So I was really impressed by that, as well as some other changes that they made to the stadium in the off season. So.
Yeah, they did add the taste of Ito onto the south end of the stadium. I think we walked through there going into the stadium, but it's basically they took the atmosphere of Eastern Downtown Houston and put it into the stadium with the Pitch Pub and some other restaurants that more resemble what you would get at Eastern Downtown Houston restaurant. They have the lights going across the top, so it looks like you're outside, you're not in the stadium. It's painted gray on the walls instead of the orange that you see in the rest of the stadium, so it actually feels like you're in a different place. And the cool thing is, after this game, since it was, I don't know, I guess it was the first game of the year or whatever, I don't remember why they did the fireworks. But they did fireworks, and the bar at the Taste of Ito was still open after the game. So you can actually still go grab a beer while you're watching fireworks. And
they were, they started off kind of slow, but by the end, I was actually pretty impressed.
Yeah.
I couldn't see the bar because there was so much smoke on the pitch. But I stayed because I had nothing else to do and wanted to check it out, and was kind of happy that they won. And I don't know how the fireworks would have went off if they, had lost. Wouldn't have been as exciting, and it had been rainy on and off, so I wasn't even sure they were going to do anything. But it was a great first match, and they are playing at home again this Saturday, March 15th, against, is that right? That sounds right. I'm going to go with it.
Close enough.
Against the Columbus Crew. What do we know about the Crew?
They are a couple years removed from losing to Portland in the finals. They were almost champions, but they pulled Ohio and didn't get there because that was before LeBron won his title, so they were still cursed at that point. But they went through a season of they just weren't good. Last year, I think they finished right above Chicago in the Eastern Conference, which Houston finished right there in that same range last season. They didn't go through the entire rebuilding that Houston did because, again, they were just a couple years out of competing for a championship. So they added I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but one of the center backs for the Ghanaian national team who's just coming off the Africa Cup of Nations, and he had a great performance there. And then they added a couple midfielders and a forward or something like that. They let a few players go. I mean, for the most part, the core of the team is still there. Ethan Finley, Tony Johnny, the keeper is still there. They did bring in a second keeper, so they got more competition, but it's the same guy that did lead them to there that I think started against Chicago. I mean, they still play the typical Columbus style of, I want to say they play a 4-4-2 off the top of my head, but it's possess the ball, move it up the field at a reasonable pace, have some speed here and there. But I mean, they're a good, well-balanced team. What I saw against Chicago makes me think Houston has a great chance to beat them.
Going back to Houston a little bit, is Willis still on the team?
Joe Willis?
Yeah.
Yes, he was injured last weekend. I think he hurt himself.
Is Derek the starter?
He was, at least for that game. I don't know if he is throughout the season or if Joe Willis. I'm not sure who's going to be the starter in goal for Houston.
I do like Willis. There's something about Derek. I don't know what it is, but I got to see a lot of Joe Willis last season. I just really like him, so I'd like to see him more. And I did see something where he hadn't played, and if he was injured, that makes sense. But I know people were kind of wondering where he was, so good to know he's still there.
Yep. And, going into this weekend, really it seems like Houston should be able to take full advantage of Columbus's back line with their speed. It was a very even game between Columbus and Chicago. In the second half, it looked like Chicago's gone through a ton of changes in their team because they were so bad for a couple years. But their speed, they were able to kind of get separation with the defense. Columbus wasn't able to keep everybody contained. You would get a lot of really good upfield runs and counterattacks as Chicago was getting the ball back in possession. And I could just see, and I could honestly see Houston going into halftime up 2-0. Columbus getting a goal, the 50 to 60 minute range, and then Houston scoring again after the 75th minute to lock it down. That's kind of what I see happening.
Alberth with all 3 goals.
I wouldn't be surprised with the draw either, just because it's Houston and we're still learning, and it's such a new team. But
I wasn't sure, if they were good or if it was kind of that thing where Seattle, that first game of the season, going back to NFL. I'm a Bills fan. Every once in a while, they'll just beat someone. You're like, wait a sec, they beat them? That's awesome.
Arizona.
the team goes and wins the next 15. They just had to get the rust off, and then we end up being horrible. But the speed is what was noticeable for me, and actually taking shots. So
yeah, and they have a lot of depth too. Let me step back a second, because my biggest concern with this team is if Kyoto, Ellis get hurt. I don't know if we have anybody to replace them speed-wise.
Right.
I think that if they're gone, if they get injured, we're kind of screwed as far as that game plan goes. We could switch to a 4-4-2, have Boniek play more, but Boniek's getting up there in age, so I don't know. You want him as a sub, really. You do have Mauro Manotas again, who could play up there with Kibo if you had to. And then once you get later in the season where you've got the U.S. Open Cup and other things, I am a little concerned about depth. Because again, some of the players that are on the bench are rookies who just got drafted.
Right.
So depth is a concern. But yeah, first game to look great, so we'll see.
Let's just rack up as many points as we can now.
Exactly.
So if we lose them, then we lose a few matches. Not a big deal.
We do always have the fact that home games, no other teams are prepared for them because they don't practice in the heat like we do. And it's
already hot.
It is. And so Houston players, they just have an advantage because you come here, we're still running, the other team's dehydrated and cramping. So we'll see.
All right. If you like what we're doing, let us know in the comment section below. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and then we'll keep doing them. If not, we'll stick to vinyl and hops in our podcast. It's no big deal, and we'll just have this discussion off air. But we thought we'd share with you because we like you, and
feel free to let us know if you disagree with anything you said, if you agree with anything we said. We're up for discussion as well.
That's right. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram. Check out at LOTD Podcast, and then I'm sure you can find us from there, or just follow the podcast. Lots of sports discussion, not just soccer, football, hockey, especially being from Western New York, and basketball as well because of this guy and good old Ben Wilson. So plenty for you to consume instead of doing work or consume in the car. Probably not the YouTube one. That's probably dangerous, but yeah. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.